Hello, everyone. This is Catherine in Boulder, Colorado, and this is our weekly wellness Zoom. And Marjorie's here with us tonight again, and just love it when she comes back to visit. We have no idea. I don't have a special speaker tonight or anything. We might talk a little bit uh, about cryptocurrency and healthcare, since I just found out a little something about that, and because financial wealth really affects your health. Like your financial health affects your physical health a lot, because if you don't have the right foods to eat, or you can't afford the types of supplements or whatever that you may need, or if you can't get, like, I need stem cells, and you gotta have money to get those sorts of things. And when you have extra money to put into your health, you'd be surprised at how quickly things can heal, even things that have been going on for years and years. So who knows what all we'll talk about tonight, but we're just glad to be here. And if you're watching this at a later time, um, we'll just be chatting, and then at the end I will do some energy work, or we will do some energy work. And even if you're watching it later as a recording, it still works. So I just ask that you not drive while you're listening to that portion, because sometimes it can just put you to sleep, and we wouldn't want you to fall asleep at the wheel. So, but that'll be towards the very end. We'll save that for the very end. And anybody is always willing to pop on here with us each week. It was meant to be a live discussion sort of a show. It was actually meant for people to come and kind of get, not diagnosed. Like, I'm not a medical physician, I can't officially diagnose you with any kind of medical condition, but sometimes I can figure out what's going on with you, because I was a nurse for 20 years, and then I've also been working with herbs and homeopathics and medical ozone and different essential oils, and just all kinds of different natural remedies, and then doing energy work. And being somewhat of an empath, sometimes I can pick up on things in people's bodies, just because I can feel it in my own. So sometimes it doesn't take a medical degree, and sometimes medical degrees can give you labels that aren't very helpful. So this was originally for people to come on, and if they were struggling with issues, just to mastermind around it. Because what I've learned from being an entrepreneur, and I'm sure Marjorie can back me up on this, because we're entrepreneurs together. And what I found is that sometimes I can think that a certain challenge is just, huge, this big, huge challenge, and I can't figure out how I'm going to get around it or over it. And all of a sudden, I get on a mastermind call with some of my fellow entrepreneur family, and with all of us, thinking about it, it just brings in all these different solutions and all these different ideas, and they just come out of nowhere. And it's just, I think, being together, thank you for the confirmation, just being together. In the Bible it says when two gather together. I don't know what it says after that, but I know it says that much. Maybe Marjorie can tell us the rest of that Bible verse. I don't know, but let me unmute you there, dear, so that you can come on out and talk.
I'm not a Bible verse expert or anything, so I'm not going to be able to add to that. Yeah, I guess basically I'm finding that a lot of people really aren't thinking too openly about their financial health.
I'm having a really hard time hearing you. I don't know if you can get your mic closer, or...
Oh, I just realized I didn't have my microphone attached.
There you go. That's much better.
No, I'm just realizing that a lot of people really want to take care of themselves in terms of their health, like, physical, health of their body, etc. But they're not as aggressive thinking about their financial health. Like, people are moving away from the medical industry and big pharma, and realizing the truth about that's really not true health at all. And they're seeking to get to vibrant health, real health within their body and their mind and everything. But there's not quite as innovative about their financial health. And I have to say, like you were saying, that's a big part of your overall balance, when you can have that comfort level of financially you are healthy and you're doing well. um, so I'm sort of realizing that now, that most people don't really think too much outside of the box when it comes to their finances and their money and things like that. I don't know if you agree with me. My sense is, even I was asleep for many years, even though I have a business background and my major was finance. I really didn't give it much thought, because I'd been kind of conditioned to think that this was the way it was for me, that I was not going to be someone who was going to be investing a lot, and I didn't have that extra funds to invest. I was just, surviving, paying bills, regularly, month to month kind of thing. I didn't have any extra to really do anything more bold for myself. And yet I do feel that I'm learning it doesn't take a lot to stretch yourself and seek out something different for your own financial health. The idea of your money making you money. So anyway, something that I think is really, really important now, because people want to break free from rigid thinking about their physical health, but they also need to do that aggressive, brave, courageous breaking through in terms of how they should approach their financial health. So anyway, it's just something that I've been really thinking a lot about.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, having worked as a nurse for 20 years, 12-hour night shifts, and that, dealing with tremendous amounts of stress, it's been I've mentioned cryptocurrency on here before, so many of the viewers might already know that I'm in that space. Um, Seeing the kind of gains in the last couple of years that has been seen in the cryptocurrency space, I mean, it completely dwarfs like my nursing career. And it's so, like, on one hand, it's amazing and wonderful, because I didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't know how to get out of the situation that I was in, and so it came in and solved some things really quickly for me. On the other hand, it's like, oh my God, I gave up all that time with my family and my kids, and I put my body and myself through so much stress. And of course, being a nurse, I mean, it's honorable work. I don't regret doing it, but I did lose a lot of time. I was a very dedicated nurse. I was a dedicated mother too, but I was a dedicated nurse because I was trying to keep the household afloat. And, you got to do what you got to do as a single parent, basically. But now, knowing what I know about teaching people how to have their money making money, like you said, Marjorie, put your money to work for you, because I just never realized how easy it was to make money. I mean, you don't always make money. There are things that are risky, and sometimes things don't work out like you plan or whatnot, but there are some, fairly good choices right now on how to make your money grow really exponentially. I mean, we're seeing 1,000% growth in short periods of time. And like I said, you can't ever guarantee that, but just, go Google like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin. Litecoin hasn't gone up so much, but if you look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, it gives you a good idea of how much these things have gone up. And, we're just not taught the concept that money can appreciate. Or at least I was not taught that concept. I came, from, I don't know what kind of a home, it was a single parent home. My grandmother trying to raise me, and she worked hard, long hours, and taught me how to do that too. And we didn't go hungry. She always made sure that there was food and we had decent clothing to wear and things like that. She pretty much killed herself doing it, with the long hours and the stress that she put herself under. And to think that if I knew then what I knew now, I could have taken the money that she made at the restaurant working as a hostess on her feet all night, and just multiplied that so many times for her. And in her latter years, she was always an extremely independent woman, but in her latter years, she wound up having to live with, she kind of went between my uncle and my mom, not because she couldn't take care of herself physically, but because her finances were gone. She had nothing. She had a home that she had been paying on that she kind of took money out against that loan, and we all went into a business together, a restaurant business that actually failed. And my grandmother wound up with no home. I wound up bankrupt, and I'm not sure how my mom and dad or my uncle fared as far as, I don't think it touched them as deep as it did us. But, she had to give up her independence in her latter years just because of finance. And like, I could just see her she wouldn't be interested in learning anything about cryptocurrency, but if I could just work it for her and give her the money,
Mm-hmm.
she could have been independent so much longer.
Right. Yeah, you could definitely look back at the money that you did have, big or small, and think about, what was it really spent on? A lot of it's material stuff, that you at the time think is necessary, that everybody has. So it's something that, you should have, but that stuff doesn't last. And now I'm at a point where I don't want any material things. I guess you get older and you realize how many decades have you spent accumulating items and using them, of course, it's the point of it, and maybe enjoying them and they were functional and useful. But overall, it doesn't have any real great value in many ways. And instead, it would be a lot more fun to have the financial freedom to give you more freedom in all areas of your life. And because I have 2 young adult children and I see what they're going through. My older child, the daughter, has a good job, and I can see that she's spending a lot of money just enjoying having money after being a student or whatever. So, there's a lot of money spent on, having drinks, like Starbucks drinks, those cost $5-6, and cabs everywhere, which when you're living in a city, that is sometimes really necessary. And just other things that, a young woman should enjoy the pleasures of her life and her lifestyle in a city. But I also realized that for the few, $100 that she spends here and there, she could really do a lot with that. And yet, being the parent, you can't really tell your young adult child anything to do. So it's kind of a fascinating position to be in, to think like, after all these decades, I am awakening to a more wise way to deal with my money. And I look back at my daughter, and I really can't help her without being overly, not really aggressive, but being very direct about how she could be spending her money. And yet that's not really what young children want to hear from their parents. So if anyone has any good advice for me, I'd love to hear it, So, and then it gets to a point where I feel that I have to invest the money for the family. That way there's not a whole lot of discussion. I just invest a small amount that it takes. It really isn't a lot. As soon as I have it to invest, and take care of my family that way, without having to go through a lot of discussion and convincing and people agreeing with me, I'll just do it, and actually that's kind of exhilarating. That's really kind of exciting to think that I can do that kind of thing. So, and I know you're doing that too, Catherine, for your family.
Oh, it's very exhilarating. It's really, because stress does horrible things to the body. It really does. It messes up your whole everything. And you might think you have enough put away, but one thing that I learned really quick after my accident, man, it was gone. Everything I had was gone, and I lost my home in 3 years. So I was nowhere near ready for anything. I had just been completely irresponsible about preparing for my future, other than I've always had like a life insurance policy, but
Yeah.
but that was pretty much the extent of my, I didn't think about putting it away for a rainy day, because I've always been able to work 2 or 3 jobs. I never ever imagined I'd find myself in bed. Well, I guess in a way I'm still kind of working 2 or 3 jobs even though I'm in bed. But the point of the matter is, people think that they're prepared, and because of the deflation of our dollar bill, it's like this balloon that is completely deflated. Um, the money that you have is not going to be worth then anywhere near even what it is now. And so people think that they're all set up and financially prepared when they're nowhere near.
Yeah. Well, we're on your Zoom, which is oriented toward wellness, and I was going to say that I saw my daughter recently, and this is like really the story of our time. She was talking about being anxious, and that her roommate was anxious. And so, what are these young people thinking to do? Well, I don't know who is suggesting it, probably her doctor, or she's going to see a therapist too, is that I might want to take some anti-anxiety medication. And all I could think of was, no, you do not want to go that route with big pharma. And you keep hearing about these so-called famous people who are dying from their anti-anxiety medicine, which actually causes them to have nightmares and
Yep.
become addicted to it. And then they go almost psychotic from it. And of course she was, giving off, this is going to be really low doses. And I'm like, well, I don't even understand what dosing means, and what is a good low doses, or what's not a good low doses, but the whole point is just don't even go there. And I just watched that series called the Sacred Plant about medical cannabis. So I'm on this big thing like everybody should be taking medical cannabis. And the hilarious thing is, this must be genetic. I found out from both of my children, my daughter and my son, that they all get paranoid when they smoke, marijuana recreationally. So that's why they don't smoke. My son doesn't smoke marijuana anymore. My daughter doesn't want to do medical cannabis because she makes her really super paranoid. And I'm trying to say, like, well, you don't know, because this is medical cannabis. This is medicine. This is not going to be you smoke. So anyway, I'm not making any headway with my young children. Mom who's finally coming around to the idea of medical cannabis is a great thing. When of course you're all upset when your children are smoking marijuana. Like, what are you smoking marijuana for? This is ruining your brain. You're a young teenager, et cetera, et cetera. So neither one of them are open to medical cannabis because they get paranoid from regular marijuana. And I'm just finding it all hilarious. And I'm thinking, well, I put it out there, so now they know that I support medical cannabis. And I think it's a great step to take preventatively, as medicine, for not just anxiety, but just as an overall good health benefit, because not only is it, maybe able to help you prevent cancer, but all these other diseases that we're all lined up to get because of our world and our toxicity of our world, and the toxins are already in us. And when you think about medical cannabis, is now the research is coming out that we're actually, as human beings, connected with medical cannabis and its benefits through this endocannabinoid network within us. There's like 250 points in our body somehow and that sort of matches up to 250 different ways that medical cannabis could be very good for us. And they use that phrase, which I actually love. It's almost like a computer software system where the medical cannabis is actually hardwired into us as human beings, 250 points of being hardwired, where it can really help us. And it's, the other point being, it cannot kill you because it doesn't affect the brain stem in any way, and it's natural, and it's not going to have side effects like other, man created big pharma drugs will do. I'm sure there's ways you have to monitor the use of the medical cannabis so that it doesn't have any, so you don't overdo it or et cetera. So I'm not going to say it's like a slam dunk, you're going to take it and it works, because each person's unique, and that came out during the series. So you do have to kind of experiment with the medical cannabis to a point of the right type and dosage, etc. But anyway, I'm really like enthused about medical cannabis, and I think that is going to be more in our country for everybody to use eventually. I mean, it's state by state, but there's even a bill now at the federal level so that it's not illegal per the federal laws. So things are changing, and so I feel like we'll see big changes about medical cannabis and its acceptance and its use, and people knowing more about it, things like that. So anyway, that's the story about my Marjorie has been converted to medical cannabis, trying to share it with her young children.
Well, usually it's a THC that causes anxiety. So, or, being paranoid or whatever kind of reaction they're having there. They could try just CBD oil and they'd probably be fine. And it would probably help the anxiety too.
Right. Yeah. Oh, well, that's good to know. See, I didn't know enough to even say that to them. So, yeah. Well, it is a really interesting world we live in, because that the concept here is we want to talk about health, and there's so many new things coming out that can help people. It's almost like an avalanche. I'm finding that to be the case anyway, because I actually passionate about health and paying attention and wanting to know things. So I'm seeing a lot of things. Like I'm on Facebook a lot, and they must be targeting me, because once I click onto different series, now they know what I like. So they're always sending me more.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mind that, because I have found a lot of fascinating things. But I also wanted to say that it gets to a point where there's so much out there that you're not even sure what to do, right? But I guess if you can simplify it to the most basic of the basics, like your immune system is important, your nutrition is important, the quality of the food that you eat is important. Like something like that would help me, because otherwise I'd be all over the place thinking, well, I think I need this, this, and this. And so anyway, it's kind of an interesting, like a wealth thing. There's so much out there now that that you do feel wealthy in terms of possibilities and choices and information and knowledge. But as far as how to put it all together for yourself individually, that's where you can get a little bit overwhelmed with all the choices, is what is my thought anyway.
Yeah, I understand that. It's like when I go to Vitamin Cottage or somewhere like that, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got such and such I want to treat or something. And then I realize that I could walk down probably 10 different aisles and there'll be something on 2 or 3 things on each aisle. And then when you finally like narrow it down to one thing, then there's still like 15 different varieties. And you got to know which ones are absorbable and which ones aren't. And, so you don't wind up just flushing your money down the toilet, basically.
Right, right. And you also kind of wonder, like, what is the real high quality ones?
Yeah,
Because
I
there
mean,
is,
how do you tell? I mean, I do like muscle testing. Um, I don't whip out my pendulum, but I just do it with my breath. But actually, I could probably test with a pendulum here in Boulder, and nobody would even blink an eye.
I was going to say, Catherine, I didn't know why you would be hesitant to pull out your pendulum. You're in a vitamin shop where everyone's a little weird anyway, wanting to take care of themselves, so that's so funny. Oh, wow.
I think people need to learn to take care of their own health. They rely on other people, whether that be physicians or even alternative practitioners. I think people are always looking for somebody to heal them, and you pretty much have to heal yourself. I mean, God does the healing, but you're the one that has to find the ways that God does the healing through, that works for you. And like you said, everybody's cannabinoid system is differently. Like a lot of people know that I use medical cannabis, and so they're always contacting me and wanting to know, tell me exactly what strain to buy. And I'm like, I can't do it, dude. Like every person is so different. Like the terpenes that are in there, the odor to them that has a effect on the body. And of course, all the different cannabinoids that are in there have different effects and different strains. Even somebody can grow the same strain year after year from the same mother plant, and it'll still test differently depending on how it was fertilized or not fertilized, or if the light was regulated properly. We grew inside up in the mountains, and we had to regulate the number of hours of light that the plants got, depending on which stage of their growth that they were in. And then we could force them into another stage of growth by changing the pattern of the light. So and then we could completely change like how strong the medicine was by what we used as fertilizer. We only used organic stuff, but I mean, it can really be manipulated. If you can find a strain that works for you and a certain, like for me, it's White Widow. For some reason, I don't know what it is about White Widow that takes my pain better than anything else. And I've tried to study the constituents of it, but really it changes with pretty much every time you grow. It just changes. There's no way to pin it down. And that particular strain is really difficult to grow because to be good medicine, all the plants must be female. And that particular strain likes to what they call morph, and it'll turn male on you, and then it'll like ruin all the other plants, because once the male spreads its seed, then all of them they lose their medicinal power. Not completely. I mean, like I remember back in the day as a kid, I started smoking marijuana very young, actually. And everything that we got back then had seeds in it. I mean, you had to take the seeds out when you were getting ready to use it. But these days, for years now, all of the plants are female. They usually clone them. And even the seeds that you can buy, which are very expensive, by the way, they're probably, I don't know, anywhere from $10 to $20 for one seed. and all the seeds are what
Wow.
they call, yeah, and they're all like feminized so that they pretty much guarantee that it'll be a female plant from the seed, which I don't know how they can do that, but I don't buy seeds, I buy clones. And then we grow outside here because we have just enough grow time. We could really use about another month um, of
Mm.
outdoor grow time. But it's so much less expensive than trying to run grow lights and fans and all this stuff that you have to do to have an indoor grow. It's really expensive on the electricity bill.
Wow. This sounds so amazing. So I was telling you that I was watching YouTube videos about the Pleiadians and Barbara Masiniak. So the one thing that she's really saying a lot about, which is uh, forcing it's into my attention span now, is because we all know that cell phones and Wi-Fi, et cetera, is not good for us. And she's in her messages that she's sharing, it becomes a really strong point that this is totally not good for our health at all. Us being, as she said, electromagnetic beings. And so she was actually saying that there's going to be a new disease called electromagnetic failure. She didn't say
Oh,
much. She didn't say much beyond that. And and it's also kind of like an evil plot from the ETs that created the whole concept of the internet and the cell phones and how we're all being tracked and all the cameras and screens, big flat screen TVs, etc., that we're all being watched and recorded. And I'm like, oh my goodness, okay. So I don't know if that's a topic that maybe is not something you want on your wellness Zoom, but it's just something that I'm here, I'm, you know, partaking of these YouTube videos about the Pleiadians messages, and that's being constantly repeated. And I don't doubt it at all because we know how our world is. But when it's spelled out that clearly, you have to pay attention and you start thinking like, so the whole point about health is to like get off the cell phones, get off your iPads, get off your computers, get off the Wi-Fi. I'm like, well, how do you do that when you're in an online business? You're an online entrepreneur. Um, you're doing cryptocurrency, so you need e-wallets, and so it just gets to that level of like, oh, okay, I want to take this seriously, the truth and the advice that you're hearing about electromagnetic failure, etc., and how these devices really are being used in a sense against us, and yet our world is such that we are heavily relying on them. So how do you find that balance, right? And I guess she was talking about, and I say she meaning she says she's channeling, but the point becomes take time away from all that, being that connected online, go out in nature and take a walk, just that kind of thing, which of course I don't do. So I'm just sharing that because it's just a real huge, not a shock, because it's totally understandable that this is not good for our health, but it's still kind of a shock, right? Because there's so much our world now. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there and kind of let it sink in a little bit more, even for me. Um, and I
yeah.
know that there must be ways for us to shield ourselves from the EMF of the devices. I remember I had an inventor friend who I've lost track of, but he's the one that created those pyramids I was telling you about, Catherine. And I have two of those. And I remember one of his friends who was very sensitive said, if you just put a simple triangle, like just a little sticker of a triangle on your cell phone, that she said was a way to cut down on the EMFs coming from your cell phone. So I don't know what to think about that. I mean, if it's that simple, right? Then we should be putting that on everything that we own.
I'd
All
love
the
to test that theory with one of those machines and see. Um, yeah, does she recommend that argonite stuff or whatever?
Somebody said the organite was a way to heal from the chemtrails.
Oh, I thought
but
the
not
organite was supposed to absorb the EMFs.
yeah, you I guess I don't remember that part from other conversations I've overheard. I probably didn't understand it well enough to really get the point. So you may be totally right. I just can't confirm for you. So I have heard about organite before, and when it was mentioned on one of these videos that it was a way to heal from the chemtrails, I thought that was interesting. That it basically made me think I've got to learn more about organite. Organite, and I'm not even sure what the heck organite is, but I was thinking I got to pay more attention to this. And it was also interesting because I'm into astrology, and so the comment was made that the galactic center is sending out information to all around the universe, and that from the galactic center, which I think, if I can, this is not going to be correct, but I think it's 20, in the late 20 degrees of Sagittarius. I don't know exactly. I could Google and look it up. So it's like 27, 28, 29, 26 degrees of Sagittarius. Everybody has that in their charts, their birth charts. And that's supposed to be the center of the galaxy. And I'm not an expert on the galactic center, but the comment in the video was made by the Pleiadians that messages are coming from the galactic center and going all around our universes, and it's going to our sun, and from the sun is being sent down to Earth. And one of the points of the or purpose of the chemtrails is to block the sun's sending of the messages from the galactic center to us as the human beings, because there's so many things that we would be receiving from everywhere because we're vibrational beings. So by these chemtrails, we're not getting the messages from the galactic center that is being sent by way of the sun. So I thought that was really interesting, because the point became that there's so many things going on around us that is so complex that it's hard for us to grasp it all, but that all these things are being done to us. And that this is just one thing, right? And that I had not heard anything about before. So it triggered this thought to myself, like, and then the other point being made was, well, because you're always indoor looking at your screens, you're never looking up at the sky. A lot of people aren't paying any attention to the chemtrails because they have no concept of what the sky should even look like, or the difference in the sky from like 10 years ago, because I guess the chemtrails has been going on since the 80s. So all of that was fascinating to me, because I'm not a nature gal or anything like that. So I'm thinking, okay, I think I'm one of those people who do not look up at the sky, have no idea about what it really should be like. And yet all these things are happening to us and around us. So are you hearing anything from your guides, Catherine, about these types of things that are being shared by the Pleiadians?
No, not really. I mean, my guides just tell me to, like, I just shield from this stuff and
Yeah.
transmute it and stuff. Um, I think our beliefs about what they do to us is about maybe more deadly than what they actually do to us. But
Mm.
but I don't doubt. I mean, it's a known fact that our government has nanotechnology. I mean, they could be doing anything to us. People are saying, "Oh, I'm not going to get chipped." You're probably already chipped. We probably inhaled it in the air and didn't even realize it. Um,
Yeah, I have heard that that's already in our vaccines. These
oh
sort of
yeah, I'm sure.
microbots in the vaccines are being, so it's in us already. And just so many things. And I just looked up the galactic center. It says anywhere from 18 to 20 9 degrees of Sagittarius is the center of the Milky Way. So I thought it was more like 26 degrees, which I guess would be halfway between 18 and 29, sort of. um, and by the way, in listening to the Pleiadians, they said like, they called it the nano. It was from like 1987 when the harmonic convergence happened. Then 25 years out, which was 2012, which matches the end of the Mayan calendar. The 5,000 and something years of the Mayan calendar ended on December 21st, 2012. So those 25 years, the nano, she called it, 1987 to 2012, was the acceleration of sort of our evolution. And then from 2013 to 2027 is what she calls the changeover years. We were just talking about that this morning on another Zoom, because I've been hearing that 2020 is when full disclosure happens and things like that. And so that's really not that far off from where we are in the middle of 2017. But then past year 2020 to year 2027 is what was called the changeover years, which is a good thing. I mean, there'll be a lot of turmoil and dramatic changes that are not going to be easy or pretty. But the whole point really is, you know, super evolution and improvement in our world. And, you know, so that was kind of interesting, because I was just talking about, I can't wait for 2020. And then I had no idea what to think about beyond that. So now I've got this picture in my mind of the changeover years, 2013 to 2027. So it is another 10 years till 2027. I don't like to think that long, to be honest. You know, I don't know why. I'm just one of those impulsive, impatient people. And I'm older in years than most people. And I'm thinking, another 10 years? Like, that just seems like, you know, too much time. That's like too much time to me, you know. And yet I know that it can be also nothing, you know, because the world will change so dramatically for the better that that those 10 years should be like a gift, you know, something wonderful. I mean, something so different that it's shocking, I would assume, in a good way. But it's still leading to something really, really wonderful for us, you know, improvement, you know, and moving away from what we're dealing with right now. And the thing I really liked, because, you know, I worked in a school system for 10 years, and my daughter finished college, my son struggling academically. So I don't even want him to go to college. It'd be a total waste, but even just to go to community college for art classes was really a struggle. And I'm thinking, what was said in the channelings on the YouTube video was the education that is being given right now, both at the elementary, high school, college level, is like horrible. Like, because the science, for example, and the math is like thousands of years behind what's really available out there from the ETs and such, that it's almost like stupid, right? Like the education that, you know, people are paying 50,000-60,000 a year at, you know, fancy top level colleges is really like so old and bad technology and science and math, etc. So I'm just laughing because there was a woman that worked at the supermarket where my daughter worked as a high school student. She knows my daughter, always comes up to me and says, "How's your daughter doing?" And she has these two brilliant twin grandsons who are going to like a Poly Institute type school, you know, not MIT, but equivalent, like a very good school to become engineers. So they obviously have that ability to be engineers. So she was telling me that they're making $45 an hour as a summer intern before their last year of college. And so then, like, I'm realizing as I'm listening to the channeling that everything that they're being paid so much money for is like stupid level of knowledge in right in engineering, you know what I'm saying? I'm just laughing at that because I'm happy for them that they're making $45 an hour. I think she said, oh, it's like $900 a week, which is a lot of money for a young kid in the summertime, where he's making 4,000 a month for like 3 months or whatever it is. So it's a lot of money. And I'm just laughing and thinking, well, the stuff he's really learning that he's being paid so much for is really like trash, you know. It's like, you know. Oh, anyway, so it's just a funny thought I had, you know. I mean, it's a funny world that we live in, you know, when you're, because the whole point would be, how awake are you? How much attention are you paying to seeking and wanting to know this type of information? And when you do have this type of information, then you can look around your world and have a perspective that most people don't have. And it's just kind of humorous. I find it kind of humorous, you know. Anyway.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you. Isn't that funny how we've gone from, wanting our kids to go to college to now like, don't bother with college, buy some cryptocurrency.
Oh, well, that's the other thing, because, well, I read these kinds of articles because my daughter was in college, so I had to pay attention, and I realized more and more that there was a whole trend to, we're not going to go to college because this is stupid. Why should people finish college age 21, 22 and have like $200,000 in debt? That's just going back into the indentured servant lifestyle that we're all living already, you know. And now they have this wonderful scheme to get our really young people in debt right away, so they can't even like enjoy life. They can't even buy a house. They can't buy a car. They have to share small apartments, you know, watch their budgets. Um, and in our cryptocurrency world, we hear a lot of people say, "Is that a scam? Is that a Ponzi scheme?" Things like that. And so what was humorous was in the channeling, the point was made, to graduate with 100,000 in debt. Now that is a Ponzi scheme, meaning the higher education, colleges and such. It's just like, yes, I totally agree with you, but it's even better when the Pleiadians are saying it. You know, they're saying it's a Ponzi scheme, right? I mean, what sane person would sign up for something like, yeah, I'm going to go get an education that's really like worthless anyway, per the Pleiadians. The knowledge is like thousands of years behind what's really available now, you know, if the truth is really out there, and end up with, you know, all that debt. So who would want that for their kid? Or, you know, what kid would want that? And yet there's a lot of the, I must do what everybody else is doing. I must go to college. You know? So such is our interesting world.
If you're going to go to college for something that you love doing. Like if you're an artist and you want to go learn how to do art, then do that, but
Yeah.
some of this other stuff is just BS.
Oh, and right. And then the hilarious thing is the channeling was going on to say, to be a really great parent, spend time teaching your children some real skills. Like take them berry picking, bring the berries home, then make jam. So she's basically saying, or even beekeeping, you know, like have that as a hobby for the family, and then you have a skill where you can raise bees and make honey. And that would be something you could barter and have for trade. I'm telling you, Catherine, it was like going back to the 1800s, right? Like, don't send your kid off to college and sit around and learn some academic version of whatever that they think they should be learning. Teach them some real skills, some real skills of how to make food, or how to repair things, or how to make things. It's really kind of hilarious, because that's the kind of stuff I love to read about in my novels. I love to read historical fiction and read about those days when, you know, people lived on farms and estates, and there was a whole community, and that's what they were talking about. I'm laughing, and that's the kind of world I want to live in too, you know, where you're raising your own garden, and, you know, raising your own food, and you know how to do that, and on like that, you know. It's just, and yet we're so far removed from that today, right, in our educational system. Parents are just dropping their kids off at school, and what do the kids learn? They're learning how to take standard exams that the state requires. It's all stressful, and I know there's a movement toward giving them a chance to raise little gardens at the school, and learning how to meditate, that kind of thing. But really, the better part of an education would be to make that the entire focus, and none of this other stupid stuff. You know, um,
Yeah.
they really should be learning how to be farmers, and how to repair things, and how to make things, and how to know what's in their minds and their bodies. You know, um, that was the other cool thing that I'm trying to remember. Some other things keep popping up on my mind is the Pleiadians are also talking about that if people would focus on their bodies, the human body, and realize what a gift that is and what a miracle that is, and to really learn about your body and to use your body the way it's designed, um, and the same with our minds, just all of that, which is of course of natural interest and a passion of mine. So there's that confirmation right there that this is where you should be focusing your energies on. And it's a wonderful thing to hear, because it gives you the incentive and the motivation to keep exploring and working on that, as opposed to many other things that you could be doing, right? So I mean, I thought of you, Catherine, right away when that was said, because I was thinking, well, you already knew early on that you were a multi-dimensional being. So in that sense, I'm wondering how much you feel you know your body too. I know you use breathing a lot as part of your way of tapping into your power and your knowledge. So there's just so much out there that's available for people to use to learn about their bodies and their minds, and how to create their world. I mean, because that's an obvious thing that they were saying, is that you do create your own world. And so if we all could just really, really understand that, think of how great everything could be, right? If everybody was at that level. And yet the comment was made that the Pleiadians are not reaching out to every single person on the earth, because that isn't going to happen, because most people are not interested, that we're all self-selected, um, when we want to learn about the Pleiadians, or we want to learn about metaphysics or spirituality, that we're not the masses, we're the few and the self-selected. But that's who the Pleiadians are teaching, because once they teach us, then we can share it with more people. And so it went on like that. This is why I love rediscovering the Pleiadians, and finding that there's so many of these free YouTube videos, that you could just watch endlessly, it seems like. So
Yeah, there's a lot of channeling coming through.
mhm.
I mean, there
I know,
always
and I
has
know
been.
channeling.
They didn't call it channeling back in the day, but there always has been channeling. Like, I think the Bible, that was just something channeled, you know. uh,
Right.
Obviously, it was given a lot more importance than most channelings. Um,
Hmm.
exactly why we could probably discuss for another 4 hours.
Yeah. And yet I know you have to be careful about the channelings. You don't just want to accept everything
Yeah.
as whatever. You have to be discerning. And yet and I sort of feel like the Palladians are real. I trust Barbara Masiniak. I see some other people are channeling the Pleiadians, but I don't really know who they are. And I don't want to spend all my time just, tapping into all this stuff. I just, I'm going with my sense that this is who I want to pay attention to, Barbara Masiniak and her channelings of the Pleiadians, and not going to go around sampling everybody else who's channeling the Pleiadians. Hey, Catherine, it's almost 11 o'clock. Do you want to start on the meditation or healing?
Yep. I was just going to say, I love not everybody that I've heard sing light language, but I love light language, and I don't understand it, but there's something very, very calming on a really deep level about it. So
Now, what is this, Catherine? You say light,
it's called
like
light language. Yeah.
Light?
Yeah.
I don't even know what this is.
Well, I think it's a language that originated on Lyra, and I think that that's like our mother planet or constellation or stargate or whatever the hell it is. I don't know what it is, but
Mm-hmm.
Lyra, it's like the first time I heard light language, I thought it was like hearing my native tongue again.
Wow.
Even though I didn't understand the words, it still just resonated on such a deep level for me. Now, not everybody that channels light language has that effect on me, and but I'll send you some of them that I like that you can listen to and see. I think it'll resonate with some people, and other people it won't. But for
Mm.
me, it really did. It feels, at least the ones that I listen to, they feel somewhat elvish, like they have
Mm-hmm.
just this woodland elvish uh, mother energy about them. I don't know how to explain it, but it just feels like home. And
Mm. Wow.
yeah, it's shocking. It's, from what I understand, it's given to people. I One day I may speak it, I've been told. So I don't know, but I would accept it if I did. But a lot of people are really like put off. It's very strange to listen to, and they're like, what are they saying? How are they saying anything? And sometimes it can get very well, you'll hear. I'll send you some links, but and then after you hear the ones that I send you, go ahead and click around on some of the other ones, and you'll see the differences. Um,
Wow. Hmm.
but
Well, you.
it's just like you get to certain points of acceptance and openness. It's like, some people, just the idea of Pleiadians, or even the idea of any kind of extraterrestrials at all, is just, you're crazy if you think that. I mean, some people really think that this is just it. We get this one life. There's nothing after this. There's nobody else out there. We're the center of the universe, and it's then you get opened up to some things, and then all of a sudden that doesn't sound so crazy, and then the next thing you know, you're listening to light language.
Right. I was thinking that people who aren't open, that how boring that is. I mean, as you were describing people who think that Palladians is, I was like, well, it's so boring if you're not open to anything. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think that's kind of sad.
I have people that want to they just want me to chat, 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 chat. And it's not that it's not that I have anything against chatting, but I have a lot of work to do, and I'm often busy, and I set aside times to chat like this. This is a time to
Mm-hmm.
talk about things. Um, and they'll say, well, I'm so bored, and it just cracks me up, because how in the world can you be bored in this universe?
Right,
This is
right.
like the most fascinating shit ever.
True, because, well, I've heard this and it's been confirmed. I think that's the reason I love these Pleiadian channelings, is because it's confirming everything I've studied and heard and read about and absorbed and have faith in as truth. It's confirming everything that I already know about, that I've learned about and spent all this time and energy, getting educated about and opening myself up to. And so the concept is that this is the most momentous time ever on the human on this planet, in this universe, and that as human beings, that we really did have to um, make our way here in like a competition to even
Yeah.
qualify for a lifetime, and that
Yeah.
everybody wanted to be here in this lifetime, and we actually had to kind of like apply. And so that was even said on the one I was just listening to, the YouTube channeling, that we spent 5,000 years plotting out different lifetimes so that we could be ready for this lifetime. Meaning, I'm thinking to be at the level of soul quality, I guess, or
Yeah.
improvement,
Of
as
understanding of what we can do. Yeah. Absolutely.
like 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 perfecting the quality of who we are, our souls, over 5,000 years of many many lifetimes, so that we could have this one lifetime. And then and even within this lifetime, we had to have the point was the right race lines, and the right bloodlines, and the right parents, and the whole timing of getting your parents to have sex so that you could be born on the date, so you can have the astrological chart and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is the stuff I could totally relate to. So you're right to say that you're bored. Honestly, I am bored with a mundane life, but then she makes the point of, well, you got to do this and this, otherwise you're a total slob. Meaning, like, you have to have discipline and do the things you're supposed to do as a human being, both in just terms of daily life, even just housekeeping, all those daily routines that we all have, right? I mean, I find that utterly boring, but that's something that we have to do as human beings in this particular lifetime. But what I really want to do is all the other fun stuff, like being evolved, and superpowers, and awakening to what our body really is and what our minds can really achieve. And she talks about that a lot, that, like, once we realize how powerful we are, that's why so many things are being done to us, why the world is so polluted, and why they're trying to kill us and dumb us down, which is what the cell phones do too, and the Wi-Fi. She uses the word fried, or we-fi, or something like that. She doesn't say Wi-Fi, she says we-fi. And she goes, it really means we fried, meaning, like, as human beings, we're being fried by the Wi-Fi. And so that whole point about how we really living our lives, and we have to wake up and realize how miraculous and powerful we really are. So the idea that people are bored is kind of hilarious, because they're just not even awake. They're not even seeking to know much more than what's right in front of them, right? So anyway, there's just so much to talk about. That's what I find kind of fascinating. Not
Absolutely.
boring.
I mean, anybody that has access to the internet, I just don't. How could you be bored? Like, you can explore. You can do Google Earth. Is that what it's called? Where you can, like, zoom in on these all kinds of areas. You can look up any kind of belief system. You can look at a picture of any kind of flowers you didn't even know existed before.
Right.
I mean, there's just, and that's like 5 minutes worth. I mean, then you get, you know, then you could, I don't know. I always have about 40 tabs open. I just find it fascinating.
That must be why you always have these cool pictures that you could post up with great sayings, because you've been doing all this exploring online. So, yeah. Well, I think that the comment was made that, yeah, the internet is fascinating, but it can be quite overly absorbing. And so
Yeah.
that becomes the same thing as, like, there's so many different health approaches that we could be tapping into now, that you can get easily lost amongst so many choices. So I think with the internet, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
You can have a thought and say, well, let me check that out. And then like hours later, I'm still checking it out, or you keep going from one thing to another. And all of it is really fascinating and interesting. But I guess I was also just thinking, like, for what purpose? And just trying to think of a valuable use or best use of your time and the internet, you know. So, all right. So we don't like boring people. People have to stop thinking life is boring. They have to really wake up to the fact that actually life is quite exciting and fascinating, you know. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah. All right, let's do some energy work and then we'll hop off of here.
Okay.
So we'll just do some general stuff unless something in particular comes in from the guides. And if you're watching this, listening to this later on, remember this is a time, if you're driving, do not continue listening because we're going to start doing some energy work now. And sometimes it can make you feel cold. Sometimes it can make you feel hot. Sometimes it can make you feel like you're spinning. Sometimes it can, you know, some people see things, see visions. Some people hear things. Some people feel things in their bodies. Whenever I'm channeling energy, I just feel like a, gazillion bubbles are flowing through me, and it just gets stronger and stronger until it's like this Niagara Falls kind of feeling just going through my body. And some people don't feel anything at all, and I want to say that because I don't want you to, thank you for the confirmation. I want to say that because some people think, they hear other people say, oh, well, my guides told me this, or they showed me this, or whatever. And they don't get that. So then it makes them feel bad. It feels like they don't, the energy work isn't working for them or whatever. You don't have to feel anything. I even know energy healers, energy workers who don't feel energy, and that is the most fascinating thing to me. And I never realized that until I started going through some different classes, getting up to master level on some different things. And I would have conversations with people, and I'd say, so, tell me what you felt during that. And they're like, I don't feel anything. And I'm like, what? Because it always freaks me out because I feel energy so much. And so for me, it's not hard to have faith that something is happening because I can feel it happening. But for somebody who doesn't feel energy at all, to take it on as a profession, and to have the faith that everything is happening even though they can't feel any of it, that's just amazing to me. So the energy work that I do, it's just coming from God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, creator. It just flows through me. I don't do any healing. It's all done in the allowance of accepting the energy. And I guess because, it's a free will world or whatever, some people are not always open to healing. And even some people who feel like on a conscious level that they're open to healing, they have some different subconscious blocks against it or whatnot that they're not quite aware of. So with energy work, that's why we often refer to miracles, because it can be miraculous. It can be instantaneous healing, like they talk about in the Bible. It can be that, or it can be something that affects you for days to weeks, months to come, and you just kind of all of a sudden in a month or two you look back at your life and you go, holy shit, what happened? I had all that going on, and now all that's cleared up and gone, and life is amazing. So you can either focus on something that you'd like to heal, or you can be a surrogate for someone else that you love. Like my son is dealing with pneumonia right now, so I'm doing a lot of energy work with him throughout the day and night. And you can focus on it, something you want to heal, something you want to release, or you can just try to be like a blank slate, and just let whatever come through to you. If it does, if it doesn't, you would be surprised. And unless you've been in a group where you're talking about these things that you're seeing and feeling, you would be surprised at how accurate these things, thank you, how accurate these things are. They are as accurate as that sound when I said the word accurate. Like and when I first started reading people, I do not consider myself a reader, but I will attempt if somebody asks me to. Um, I was so shy about saying the things that I felt or saw, and I thought, well, I'm just making this shit up. I don't know where this is coming from or whatnot. But when I would tell them what I was seeing or feeling or whatever, they would be like, yes, absolutely, and so you have to have that mustard seed of faith, whether you feel it or not. And just be open to miracles because they can happen. I've witnessed them myself. I've witnessed them through myself to other people, and witnessed them through other people who channel energy. It can be just like on Star Trek, where the guy Bones has the little thing that looks like a cell phone or whatnot, and he can just like correct your frequency. It's like a Rife on crack machine or something. Um, Marjorie knows what I'm talking about for Rife machine. We'll have to talk about that one night. We haven't talked about Rife machines on here. But tonight, I'm just going to shut up and start running some energy, and we'll just see how long it goes. I'm not really in control of it. They are. So when they say it's done, I'll say, okay, we're done. So take some deep breaths. Wow. Okay. I finally have gotten the okay to start grounding us. I know the energy is gonna like go crazy again as soon as I start, but I was like yawning uncontrollably. I had my hands on my chest, using myself as a surrogate for my son, and my hands were like so hot. I had to pull my hands off at least a foot off of my chest before I could
Wow.
stand the heat. And then I would let like my chest cool off, and then I would put my hands back on my chest again, and again it would get so hot that I would have to pull them up like at least a foot away.
Wow.
And you could tell my nose has stopped up, like my eyes have just been watering, just crazy energy. I don't know what all that was about, but it was some good shit. Whoever's like whoever listens to this recording, you're gonna get some good stuff there. So
Yeah.
whew, let's just let's go for a swim in the ocean to ground.
Well, thank you. That was wonderful. Oh, I feel that heavy pressure in my hands too, and sometimes it feels like I don't think of it as heat, but maybe it is, and it's just I guess I just think of it as pressure, and heaviness, like a weight, and it's a good feeling. I like it. So
Yeah, it's
mm.
amazing. So if you're afraid of the ocean, then don't go to the ocean. Just be in a pool or something. But being in water is really a great way to ground. I know a lot of people like to imagine their feet in the sand, or like they're a tree and they're digging their roots way down deep into Mother Earth or something. But just going for a swim and immersing yourself back into the amniotic fluid, basically, of Mother Earth,
Mm,
is tremendously grounding and connecting to Mother Earth. If you
mm,
think about how powerful water is and how every single drop of water, how much, like each droplet of water can hold who knows how many miracles. And then you've got all those, and we've done some horrible things to our water, but we also have the whales and the dolphins, and we have some ETs helping the grid. We're changing the energetic grid on the earth to bring in heaven on earth for people, like Marjorie was talking about earlier. And it's here. Some people are tuned into it and some people aren't, and some people won't, and those are the ones that are going to get into the real struggles. And some people will really have the black nights of the soul, um, and then that will be what it is that has them see the light. So all of these things have purpose. So if you need more of this energy healing, you can just replay this as many times as you need to. There's also, you can go to my website at http :// live, LIVE, dream, DREAM, believe, BELIEVE, .me. It's not .com, it's .me, live, dream, believe.me. And I have a sacred activations page there that has probably 25 or 30 free sacred activations and healing sessions, including a personal healing session that I had for myself with a mentor of mine. She's the founder of Sacred Activations, actually. And we did a we called it a public private session because we knew that many of the activations that would come through from my healing would also help so many other people in the world. So Those are all there, free to use as many times as you need to. There's PTSD in there, and things for pain, and things for um, being an empath, and just all kinds of good stuff there. So take advantage of that. And of course, come back and be with us on the weekly wellness Zoom so that you can experience it firsthand and talk to us and tell us what you felt and if you felt anything and all of that. So, and Marjorie, thank you so much, dear, for being here with me tonight.
Thank you. It was great. I love being here. Thank you so much.
And we also, Marjorie and I both attend something somewhat like this, but much more structured. But it is a health clinic, a free health clinic, and there's also energy work that is done at the end. And that's every Wednesday night. Do you have what's the time on that?
It's 10:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, 10:30 Eastern. Yeah. And it's very long. I'll tell you, we go for sometimes like 2.5 hours or so, but it is well worth it. You can always participate in as much of it as you'd like. And you can get onto that Zoom by going to www.acuwaveclinic.com, and that's ACUWAVECLINIC.com, acuwaveclinic.com, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. And so that's twice a week that we're topping everybody up with energy work. So that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Very awesome. Yeah.
And as people who channel energy, it's also very important. And I'm sure Dr. Dennis realizes this too. It's very important for us to do this work. And when we get busy with other things and then we don't do this work, like our bodies don't handle the flow of energy that we get on a daily basis. If we don't channel that in some way, it can affect us physically. And it does that to a lot of people. They're just not aware that that's what's happening. So it's really interesting to learn about it and kind of put things together. Marjorie, you've been studying all this for decades too. So, but we still learning every day. So thank you so much. Everybody have an incredible week, and we'll see you here. Well, hopefully we'll see you at Dr. Dennis's clinic. And if not, we'll see you here next week. Thanks so much.